what's your emergency?
Welcome back to That Wee Wee Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Bex.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Ellen.
Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes. Honestly, we're going to keep doing these even if no one's listening, but knowing that there are some of you out there who are listening and who find us even mildly entertaining warms our little hearts. So if you want to keep our hearts toasty warm, please share the link when our newest episodes drop, share our social media posts, rate and review us in your podcast app of choice, and help us get into more ears.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you to people who already do those things.
We do appreciate you.
We really do.
All right, Alice, what happened last week?
So last week on 911, Maddie did some ghost whispering. Hen killed her father. Buck finally moved out of Abby's apartment. And Eddie wore a suit. I think his wife came back too, but let's be honest, she's not who we were looking at.
Not in this case.
Sorry, Shannon.
Maybe if she put on a suit too, she'd catch my attention. But,
Honestly, yeah.
The sundress isn't doing it for me.
It's okay, it's okay.
Gosh.
We have Taylor this episode, and I'm a very big fan, so...
Taylor does look good in a suit.
Yep.
Well, speaking of this episode, this week's is episode 8 in season 2. The title is Buck Actually. It first aired on November the 5th in 2018. So the official summary goes, Buck jumps back into the dating scene, but fears he will return to his pre-Abby scoundrelous ways while questioning if Maddie and Chimney are more than just friends. Emergencies involve a woman who goes to great extremes on top of a freeway overpass to get the attention of her husband, a couple who are involved in a car accident on their wedding day, and a first date goes down the toilet.
Now, did they cut a storyline this week?
Yeah, what was the first date?
The first date that goes down the toilet? Are they talking metaphorically down the toilet or literally down the toilet? Because I know that there is a first date toilet storyline at some point in the series, but I do not recall that in this episode.
Yeah, like I thought that it'd be this episode, and then I watched and I'm just like, that didn't happen?
Happen.
Oh. So a date, like, I'm trying to think who went on a date. Like, Chim and Maddie didn't go on a date.
Yeah, the only other emergency that they didn't mention in this episode was Harley and Baby Bear robbing the gas and sip.
Yeah, so I'm actually curious now when the toilet first date happens and whether that got moved.
But even then, that I cannot tell you which season that is, but I did recently watch that, and there was a massive lead up to that because it was all about them meeting on an app before. It wasn't just a storyline that was on the cutting room floor and they've decided to just chuck in.
Interesting.
Because there was discussion about current events in that season. So I am scrutinizing these summaries now.
I was about to say, like, maybe we should not be reading these summaries anymore because it's
fascinating.
Like, when do they write the summaries? Is it, like, before they've filmed?
Well, maybe they come out before the actual season does, so
they just bulk upload
the actual contents could change.
Yeah, right.
And no one fixes it later. Like,
if you're a writer of 911,
if you have anything to do with television and know how promotion of serial TV shows on network television works, let us know. When are summaries being sent out when is promotional material being sent out? But yeah, that's interesting.
Anyway, the triggers for this episode include car accidents. We have death via being hit by a car, and then a death by natural causes after that. And we have threat of gun violence during a robbery.
Yes. Lots of guns being waved around in this episode. So,
but overall, this episode, like, it feels a bit like a sort of a Valentine's Day-ish episode, like that everyone's, talking about love stuff.
But in November.
I'm going to be very candid. I do not understand this episode. Because it feels there's this pattern with 911 episodes where they are either on a theme or they are character arc driven.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one this is, because if there's a theme, it does not feel cohesive.
Yeah.
But there's so much going on that doesn't really support it being a character, specifically a character-driven episode.
Yeah, no one really does much growing in this one. Apart, well, no, I was going to say Buck, but no, he doesn't even.
Maddie and Chim, but they're sort of like the B storyline. And, like, the emergencies that are all... Like, everyone's a couple. There are lots of couples in this episode, but they don't really relate to one another. And if they're going on the theme of, like, the title is Buck Actually, which is a play on the movie Love Actually, but with Love Actually, the gimmick was that everybody in that movie was connected. It was, like, very 6 degrees of separation. But we don't even have that in this episode. So
No, I have no idea why it's called Buck Actually.
I have no fucking idea what is going on in this episode.
Like, Buck Anything would have made more sense because of the Say Anything link.
Yes. So do not expect any great pearls of wisdom and, like, metacriticism. I am media illiterate about this episode. I'm just going to be going off what's on the screen and not thinking too far beyond that. Apologies if anybody tunes in for the deep and meaningfuls. I am shallow and meaningless this week.
Like, it's not a terrible episode.
Okay.
We don't hate it like we hate other episodes.
No,
it's
no.
just,
Oh, no.
It's very much I just want to turn off my brain and watch this episode.
Yeah, apart from the lack of, like, any thematic coherency, I actually got to the end of this episode and I thought that was a really good episode.
I'm not saying that I hate it, I just don't understand it. And I can't, I'm struggling to connect with it on a deeper level.
Well, I'm sure sometimes it doesn't have to mean anything. You can just enjoy it on a surface level.
It's just a casual fling, Bex. It's fine.
Yes, but I'm Bex 2.0. I don't do casual flings. You know? I don't want to disrespect anybody.
Well, you just need to disrespect 911 harder, okay?
"911 wants to be disrespected. It's fine. It's consensual."
Consensual disrespect. Excellent.
Indeed.
All right, shall we jump in with the disrespect then?
Okay.
This episode we are going to open with the Channel 8 news anchors who are telling the morning commuters that things have got a little bit more dramatic over on the 5, and we're going to check in with Taylor Kelly, who's going to tell us what is going on.
Yeah, so Taylor Kelly has been promoted to the traffic, but on the ground.
That's not really a promotion, though, because she was doing traffic before. But yeah, she's on the ground. She's actually on camera.
I think she's actually doing, like, breaking news now. Because later in the episode, she goes out to another breaking news thing, not a fire, like, not a traffic thing. So
Yeah, so she's a real reporter now.
yeah, she's
Not just the chopper girl.
that's it.
So the breaking news is drama on the freeway, and the chyron at the bottom of the screen says, "Who is Norman? Hashtag blind Norman."
Yeah. Because as Taylor says, the traffic is at a standstill because there is this woman standing on the side of a bridge. Like, they've got, I don't know if we've got this set up in Australia, but in front of the big freeway signs, there's like a little gangway type thing, like it's a metal kind of, I don't even know what you call it, like a
There's a little
walkway,
platform in front of the sign, which I don't know what purpose that serves, or whether all signs have them, or whether they've specifically just created it for this sign. Residents of LA, chime in, let us know. Do you always have little platform gangways in front of your traffic directional signs?
We could probably go on a little Google Street View type thing and find out if that was the case. But anyway, for the purposes of this episode, she is standing on one of those, and she has a great big sign, like a fabric sign behind her with the words "See Me Norman" on it.
I think she's just grabbed a bed sheet. It honestly looks like a bed sheet. It looks like
that, with painted.
It does look like
paint on it. And Athena and like a bunch of cops are standing around underneath, and she's talking to this woman like with a loudspeaker, rather than from the top of the bridge. Like she's just shouting at her. Even though the 118 have arrived, well, at least Buck and Eddie have arrived on top of the bridge behind where she's standing. So I don't know why they didn't just decide to speak to her from above rather than from the ground below her.
I think they were trying to be, like, not draw attention to themselves.
Yeah, the rest of the 118 are kind of under the overpass where Lola can't see them. Yeah, they're under the overpass because they've got the giant inflatable pad and they're slowly blowing it up. I'm guessing they're trying to be unobtrusive so Lola doesn't notice them.
Athena's just trying to understand what's going on with her. Like, why are you doing this? And she's like, he won't see me. Don't you try to force me down. I won't come down.
She says it's like I'm invisible, but I'm not invisible. And then she's wearing a bathrobe because then she rips open the bathrobe and she is not wearing anything underneath the bathrobe.
Yeah.
And she declares to everyone, see me now, Norman! See me now! And yes, everybody sees you, honey.
Everyone can see her now. Yep.
Yep. All of her. Athena is just not impressed.
Not even a little
and
bit.
she sort of throws over her shoulder to the other LAPD officers that are gathering for someone to find Norman before this woman, who his name is Lola, does something crazy.
Yeah.
She's already doing.
Like, she's already pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. So while LAPD are trying to track down Norman, we cut to a car somewhere back in the traffic jam with a gentleman who is getting very frustrated about the fact that he's not moving. Gets out of his car, and some enterprising soul has driven a coffee truck down the freeway. Unless he was in the traffic jam and just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to set up shop for everyone. Like, I've got a captive audience here. I'm just going to make some money. So he decides to go over to get a coffee while he's waiting.
And a bear claw. He also asks for a bear claw. Because, yeah, why not?
Yeah, you get pastry with the coffee.
Yeah.
There are two women standing by the coffee van watching something on their phone, and they're laughing, and he goes over and asks, hey, do you have any idea what's going on? Why is the traffic stopped? And one of the women says, yes, some lady up there thought social media wasn't like social enough and she's blowing up her marriage in real time. This guy Norman is screwed. And the man looks down at her phone where there is Lola is front and center, robe out. It's all pixelated, so it's, you know, morning news safe. And then the coffee and the bear claw just go crashing to the ground as he starts sprinting down the highway. I think we found Norman.
So Bobby gives a signal for the guys to move in. So Buck climbs over the edge of the bridge and gets down to her level. But at the same time, Chim and the others underneath the bridge have a big crash mat, like one of those blow up, I don't know, what do you call them? It looks like one of those big jumping pillows that they have at the parks.
It's a giant inflatable pad.
So they pull that out from under there and underneath where she's standing. And she's like, no, I don't need that. And then she, out of the pocket of her robe, she pulls out this little gun and starts firing it at the inflatable pillow thing. Mm-hmm. And everyone's sort of ducking for cover, and all of the cops pull out their assault weapons and what have you.
It's so funny that she's got this tiny little pistol, and then they pull out semi-automatic weapons almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's Athena's tiny pistol.
Yes. I'm not in any way, shape, or form denying that is not a weapon, and she could not have seriously hurt somebody with that weapon. It's just...
Especially when she starts...
The contrast is hilarious, yeah.
Exactly. Yes, it's like she was throwing a rock and then they've turned around and aimed an RPG at her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, she does notice at that point that Buck has successfully climbed over the railing and has landed on the platform next to her and turns to him, pointing the gun at him. And at that point, Athena loses all patience because she's fine with that woman being up there, you know, risking her own life, but now she's risking Buck's life. And Athena is not having that.
Yeah, Athena's got quite fond of Buck. Also, Buck's, innocent human. But,
Yes, he's one of her boys now.
Athena starts telling Lola that she now has every firearm in the greater Los Angeles area pointed at her, and if she continues to threaten that man, i.e. Buck, they will fire. And that kind of scares Lola, and she's like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I can't handle being ignored. And Buck kind of connects with that emotion from Lola. He starts to empathize with her and starts to he tells her, I know what you mean. And she's like, she looks at him, this beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed fit young man, and goes, yeah, right, I'm sure you get ignored all the time. And he tells her, you have a Norman, I had an Abby.
Oh, Buck.
I do just love that, this is taking place and Athena is down on the ground with Bobby and goes, he's talking to her? And Bobby goes, yeah, that's either going to go well or the other thing.
Yeah.
Or he's going to get shot.
Yeah. Not so well.
But at least he's buying them time and for Norman to arrive, which he does on the back of a motorbike.
Yeah, because Norman, did we mention that he'd called 911?
We didn't, but as he was sprinting down the highway, he called 911 and identified himself as Norman. And so Maddie, who took the call, dispatched somebody to get him onto the scene so that he could talk some sense into his wife.
Yeah.
But he rolls up. They identify him as Norman. I love that he's just like, I don't know what's happening. What is going on? And as he's trying to explain it to Athena, she and another LAPD officer are strapping him into a Kevlar vest.
Yeah.
And
he's like, what is happening right now?
But once Lola sees that he's there, or he calls out to her on the loudspeaker, and she's like, you don't even notice me, I'm just around to collect the mail, which is what
Buck was talking about. Yeah,
Buck was telling her he's only at Abby's place to collect the mail.
Yes.
But
it confuses Norman, because Norman's like, but I'm the one that brings in the mail. What is she talking about?
It's okay. She's just been talking to Buck. He's just confused the hell out of her. Yeah.
Buck's trauma dumping. It's fine.
Yeah. But he tells her to put down the gun and all that stuff. And she's like, yeah, I don't believe you. They have a big fight about it, basically, over the loudspeaker.
Which is funny because when he rocked up, he was like, we don't even fight. And now they're fighting. So...
I do empathise a little bit with Lola at this point because she does kind of get to the point of why she's up there, is that she's been a mother for 30 years, and I'm guessing that her son has left for college, and she is now left at home with Norman, and she doesn't know who she is anymore. She's lost herself in motherhood, she's lost herself in her marriage, and Norman is not helping. She tells him that she doesn't remember who she was before they had kids, before they got married, back when you used to look at me. And then this ends up in a good direction, but at that point, Norman just dives for his phone and starts frantically swiping, which I was waiting for her to go like, you're on your phone?
Well, I mean, to be fair, she does say it and says, maybe it's over, and starts walking, and Buck's like, no, that's not what I meant, I'm back.
But Norman was not, frantically swiping on Tinder or doing any kind of... he was actually paying attention because music then starts playing, and he pulls a Lloyd Dobler, lifts his phone, like Lloyd Dobler if he lived in like the 2020s. Lloyd Dobler, he lifts up his phone, holds the microphone for the loudspeaker to it, and holds it above his head, and Peter Gabriel's In Your Eyes starts playing. And Lola melts, because this is a very specific song choice, because I'm just being clever going, oh, Leo, he's pulling a Lloyd Dobler, but he is literally pulling a Lloyd Dobler because this song was in Say Anything, which was the movie that they went to see on their first date.
Ah, see, I didn't catch that reference. Very good. So we do have multiple Say Anything references in this episode.
Yes. And then he starts going on to talk about how he remembers Lola and remembers how she used to be, how she was the girl who drank 9 shots of Jaeger and woke up without a hangover.
Sounds like she was pretty classy back in the day.
That is pretty impressive. 9 shots of Jaeger.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
And he sees, I see the girl I love. And then everyone behind him just starts cheering. It's really sweet.
Lola says that she thinks she wants to get down now.
Yeah, so Buck very timidly takes the gun from Lola's hand, passes it behind, gives it to Eddie.
I love these little moments, but yeah, they do make specific note of the fact that Buck disarms her and hands the gun off to Eddie before helping Lola, I guess, up over the railing and back up to the overpass, where she promptly gets arrested by Athena.
Yeah.
Because Lola's all like, oh, I'm so sorry about the disturbance. I hope I didn't inconvenience anybody. But, you know, it was worth it because my husband sees me. And Athena's like, yeah, now he's about to see you get arrested. You're under... and starts reading her rights.
And Bobby says to Buck, what did you say to her? And Buck's like, oh, you know, just that everything's going to be okay. And I'm like, are you telling yourself this, Buck? Because it's not going to be okay for her. Anyway, we're going to go off to the Grant household where Family Affair by Mary J. Blige starts to play. Is that what that song's called? I don't know. I heard it and I was like, oh yeah, this is a great song for mashing potatoes.
And I don't know whether they specifically chose that song or whether they just let Angela just start bashing on the potatoes and said, like, try to find some beat and then we'll find music to lay over it in editing suite. But she is absolutely smashing those potatoes on beat and it's great. Until Bobby tells her that she's done because if she keeps bashing them anymore, they're going to end up in potato soup. But Michael and Glenn are coming over for dinner. So Athena gets to meet the elusive Glenn. We get to meet the elusive Glenn. Yeah,
she's a bit nervous about it though. Or like she's saying that she'd rather be spending it just with, you know, the family. But and she does say that if Michael had left her for another woman, she wouldn't be expected to welcome her into their home.
She's kind of got a point.
I do like that when she's like, I'd rather be spending it with just us, not us and the kids and my ex and his boyfriend. And Harry's just like, thanks, I love you too. Like, he's literally standing right there.
Yeah. But when they arrive, she does actually put on a fake smile and welcome them into her home.
And it's so fake. And I'm pretty sure that everybody in the room except Glenn knows that it's fake.
Yeah, that's like, that's absolutely the Athena fake smile.
Yes, it's like, oh, Glenn, it's so nice to finally meet you. Like, oh,
where's my gun?
Slathering it on thick. So while Athena and Michael are having family dinner with the new partners, Chimney and Buck are having boys' night. At least Buck thinks he's having boys' night with Chimney. They're heading to a karaoke bar, and I love that. It sounds
like this is a karaoke bar that's like for.
It's a hook and ladder. It's a policeman and firefighter and first responder bar that also does karaoke.
Yeah.
A strange combination, but okay. But I love that Buck walks in and he just starts zeroing in on the women. It's like, there's women over here, there's women there, there's women walking up the stairs, there's women. And he mentions to Chim that the world looks different now that he's single. It's like he's had blinkers on this entire time and the blinkers have come off and the world has suddenly revealed itself to him in all its glory.
I love that, like, Chim is just like, Buck, you've been single for months. And Buck's like, yeah, but, like, not in my head. And now I'm out of her place. And Chim mentions that Buck is living on his couch.
Yes.
And the best part is that Chim thought that he was just coming over to watch the game. And they clearly just never left.
Watched the game, he just never left.
So yeah, Chim's also texting this entire interaction. So like the entire time Buck's like trying to talk to him.
Yeah.
Chim's just texting.
And Buck is really trying to talk to him because he's explaining that he doesn't want to go back to being Buck 1.0. He wants to be Buck 2.0, but single Buck 2.0. I love this exchange. She's like, if I had come into this bar with Abby, I would never have noticed the blonde over there licking the salted rim of her margarita glass while she maintains strong, intimate eye contact. And Chim's like, that's not actually happening, and turns around and clocks the blonde who is very suggestively licking the salt off her margarita glass while maintaining very, very intimate eye contact with Buck.
This is the first time Chim actually looks up from his phone and he's like, what? Like, hang on. Also, when Buck mentions like Buck 1.0 and 2.0, so I heard a lot about Buck 1.0 and 2.0. I completely thought it was just a fandom thing.
Oh, you know what? No, I was about to say exactly the same thing. Like, after you guys had been mentioning it in the first season, I was like, okay, this must be just fandom jargon.
No,
but
no, this is
actually
Buck.
It's actually just Buck. Yeah.
He refers to himself as Buck.
He refers to himself as Buck 1.0 and Buck 2.0. I think we do get up to like Buck 3.0 at some point.
Yeah, he has another software update. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, Eddie refers to it as a software update.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, I was seriously
Personal
like,
growth.
okay, yeah, Buck 1.0 and 2.0. Yeah, that's fair way to like refer to it. And then Buck's full on just like, yeah, I don't want to be Buck 1.0 anymore. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
Which I don't know is whether that was something that the writers noticed the fans were doing and decided to incorporate that into the show, or whether that is something that the show did and the fans picked up on it, or whether it was just a happy coincidence. But it is canonical that Buck has periodic software updates as he learns and grows as a person, which he's trying very hard to do. He does not want to go over to Salt Liquor Girl and end up having totally meaningless sex with her, because he's convinced that is exactly what would happen if he went over with her and started to engage her in conversation.
Yeah, he goes on this
and
full,
Chim's just like, yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah, he has the full scenario like mapped out, and Chim's just staring at him like, what the is wrong? So he goes, yeah, so like I'll go over there, I'll talk to her, I make a joke, she smiles, we both laughed, our shoulders touch, there's a moment, I lean in a little closer, she doesn't resist. One drink, 2 compliments later, we end up in bed together having totally meaningless sex. And Chim's like, well, what? Like, that's clearly not Chim's experience with dating at all.
No.
But yeah, so Buck says he doesn't want to be that guy again, and Chim's like, so don't be.
Just don't be.
Yeah.
Just don't. Just don't be that
don't.
guy. The Dear Abby section of the evening gets interrupted by the waitress coming over and asking and taking their orders, which Buck just orders 2 IPAs, 1 for each of them, and after consulting his phone, Chim throws in a glass of Chardonnay, which Buck's very confused about because the wine's not for him and he doesn't take Chim to be a wine drinker. But no, the wine is for Maddie, who is joining them on what Buck thought was boys' night.
Yeah. It's like, you invited my sister? Like, why? And then Maddie shows up and she's like, oh, hi, I don't know why I get on the freeway. I always regret it.
And it's very clear
She's
from
so
their interaction that this is not the first time that she's hung out with Chim at this particular bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like specifically says, should we get that thing we got last time?
Yes.
And Buck's face, he looks so confused. He's like,
Yeah, he
what?
can't
Like he's
believe it.
looking between them. He's like, last time?
Wait.
And like the waitress arrives with the drinks. Chim orders whatever they had last time, which was apparently a Celine Dion Sanders combo platter.
Which, please, somebody explain to me who that is. Because it's not Celine Dion, because the transcript spelled... I thought the transcript had spelled Dion incorrectly, but I don't think it did. I think that this is not the Canadian My Heart Will Go On singer. I don't think.
Celine Dion Sanders.
I don't know. And the weird thing is that if you Google it, the only references you get are transcripts to the episode and Wattpad fics, where they take this scene and run with it. So I really need one of our American friends to explain to us who Celine Dion Sanders is and why there would be a platter of bar food named after them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm very confused right now. There's...
Just like Buck, he's also so confused.
But yeah, so Buck is super confused. Maddie and Chim are super flirty. And we go back to the Grant household.
Where apparently it's everybody shitting on Athena.
Well, I mean, what else do you do when the only thing you have in common is one person?
Well, apparently they are giving her shit for actually arresting that lady for, you know, brandishing of a weapon, indecent exposure, you know, failure to obey signs, blah, blah. There was heaps that they charged her with, so...
They also included assault with a firearm, which May calls out and like, wait, who did she assault? And Athena's just like, she assaulted Buck. Yeah, I'm not leaving Buck out to dry. She pointed a firearm at him, and according to Penal Code 245, pointing a firearm at someone is considered an assault.
Those penal code numbers again.
Yeah, she knows what
she knows her stuff.
She knows when she needs to.
Yeah.
But the general consensus of everyone at the table is that Athena probably went too far and that she didn't need to arrest Lola, she didn't need to throw the book at her. And Athena is feeling very unloved because even Bobby is saying, look, I don't think Buck would mind if you dropped the charges. And Athena's saviour comes from an unlikely source in that Glenn starts to stick up for her and says that he thinks that Athena did the right thing.
Yeah, he says he saw the news story and all he could think about were the million different ways it could have ended badly. Like there could have been a pile-up, one of the bullets might have ricocheted. What if someone had a real emergency and help couldn't get to them because the freeway was shut down? And like he's totally sucking up, but he has valid points.
But it totally works because Athena's attitude to him does a complete 180 and she's like, oh, Glenn, let me pour you another glass of wine. Do you like that wine? I've got more in the kitchen. I don't know anything about wine, but come into the kitchen with me and we'll talk about wine that we don't know about because I've got this wine guy that I've downtown and he's really good.
Wine?
Bobby and Michael are just sort of exchanging glances like, did you see that? Yeah, I saw that.
So we go back to the bar, and Chim and Maddie are the cutest ever, and they're doing karaoke.
And Kenneth sounds so good.
I love him so much.
I knew Jennifer Love Hewitt could sing, did not know Kenneth Choi could sing, and they sound amazing together.
Yeah,
they're doing a duet of Islands in the Stream, and they're like full on like doing hand gestures. There's harmonizing happening. Like it's all going on. It's great.
Maddie is harmonizing, and what I love is that for the rest of this scene, they let them do the entire song.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. Yeah,
they're just singing in the background. There is this really sweet moment where Maddie is getting completely into the song and she kind of throws her arm around Chim and rests her hand on his chest and he just kind of freezes. And it's like, oh my God, a girl is touching me. She's touching me.
As if this isn't the first, like, as this is totally not the first time they've done this either. Like, no. It's so cute though.
But the point of this scene is not the absolutely adorable and very well done karaoke. It's what the other Buckley sibling is up to.
Poor Buck. Yes. Like, he looks so over everything. He thought he was having a nice boys' night, like 2 bachelors out on the town, and he's lost his bestie to his sister.
Ew.
That is so not bro code, man.
No. So yeah, he drains his beer, goes to the bar for another, but before he can grab another beer, the waiter puts a glass in front of him. And Buck's like, well, what's this? And apparently it's bourbon because the lady said real heroes don't drink pale ale. And he sort of gestures and Buck looks over to see Taylor Kelly sitting at the other end of the bar drinking something from her own glass, assuming it's also bourbon. So we cut briefly back to Chim and Maddie singing and then back to Buck who has joined Taylor at the bar.
And Taylor says, I see Chimney's got a girlfriend. And Buck's like, no, he doesn't have a girlfriend. That's my sister. They're not dating. No. Like, Dude, they can be
honey.
She can be both your sister and Chim's girlfriend at the same time.
No,
That
because
is
he's
something
losing both his bro and his sister at once. But Taylor says they're kind of good. And
they are.
they are.
He goes, yeah, I know, right? It's weird. Yeah, so Taylor says she's totally not... she's stalking him. Of course, that's why she's here. And Buck's like, are you though? Because, like,
He
this is
totally
weird. Like,
believes
why are you
her.
here?
There's this look on his face when she says that. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
But no, she's the TV station is right around the corner. So you come here a lot? It's like, oh my God. Buck says he used to come here a lot, but he hasn't in a while. He was in a pretty serious relationship, but that's over now, I guess.
Yeah, Taylor's like, you're not sure? But yeah, so Buck says he's pretty sure it's over and that he's actually thinking about dipping his toe back into the dating game.
And Taylor just says, just your toe? I'm like, ma'am.
If you're into that sort of thing, I mean, yeah. It's a bit kinky, but okay.
Buck says that he's trying to be responsible and well-behaved, and Taylor lifts her glass and suggests a toast to restraint, which Buck lifts his glass, they toast to restraint, which then gets completely thrown out the window because the very next scene she is dragging him into the bathroom to fuck him in the disabled stall.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
immediate. And good for Taylor,
Yep.
honestly.
Not at all
Yes.
restrained, and yeah, off they go.
Meanwhile, Maddie and Chim are still just singing. It's great.
Yes, they're doing the taking it slow, being respectful, being restrained.
Being adorable.
Buck is not being adorable. Buck is lifting Taylor up and slamming her against the wall, which, yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. I'd also like to show some restraint, Buck.
Anyway, we can go on to the next freak out now, which is that they go to a petrol station, which is a gas and sip.
It is a gas and sip.
Which we all like freaked out and went like, oh my god, it's the gas and sip. It's from Supernatural. Which, yes, it is, but it originated in Say Anything.
Yeah, 1990.
So they're continuing the Say Anything references. But it's interesting because the gas and sip appears to be one of those made for television brand names that a lot of different shows have decided to continue using.
It seems to be mostly used in Supernatural. Like, it even says, like, it's notably used, like, notably referenced in Supernatural. Like, obviously Cass works at a gas and sip. They mention
Yes.
gas and sips a lot. I have thoughts. And I'm going to completely ignore Say Anything because I don't care. And go straight to my thoughts about Supernatural and 911. Obviously,
Okay,
the
fine.
Supernatural and 911 pipeline is a direct line. There's not
Yep.
even, it just, I don't know why, but it is. So the gas and sip being in this makes this the same universe. Don't care. I'm not taking comments at this time. But it actually explains all the weird natural disasters we keep having in 911. Because, like, obviously they just had the earthquake, which was the biggest in, like, whatever, 30, 40 years, whatever it was. There's, like, spoiler alert, there's a lot more coming. So, to suspend my disbelief about, like, why these things keep happening, they're signs of the apocalypse. So we know, like, in Supernatural, obviously, like, the world is ending all the time, and they're constantly like, oh yeah, like, this happened, and, like, even in The French Mistake, they're like, oh yeah, like, remember the earthquakes? And Jen's like, you mean the earthquakes in the show? Like, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
So we know that they didn't happen in our world, but they happen in their universe. And yeah, so to suspend my disbelief, and this is why all these natural disasters keep happening, it's because they're signs of the apocalypse, and it's just the Winchester boys trying to, like, end the universe.
The one trouble with that is that the supernatural stuff did happen like 10, 15 years previously. 10 years, roughly.
Well, like, there's still a lot of shit that's... yes, it's like the apocalypse happened earlier, but, like, there's always world-ending stuff going on in Supernatural, so...
When did Chuck start switching off universes?
Oh...
Yeah, but this is the same universe, so that doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
And the timeline of 911 is so wonky anyway that we don't know that this is 2018, okay? So...
Okay. Well, I mean, the whole... Like, your supernatural theory aside, the whole say anything... The Westfall thing is that this kid in another movie, now I can't remember the name of it,
a TV show called St. Elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right. So this kid imagines all of these parallel universes existing.
Yeah, the theory is that the character, Tommy Westphal, was severely autistic. And when the TV show ended, the very last episode, there was an implication that the entire series had just been Tommy's imagination. And the evidence to support that theory was that there were characters in St. Elsewhere, not just the actors in St. Elsewhere, but the literal characters from St. Elsewhere start popping up in other TV shows. So the idea is that all of the TV shows are all connected because Tommy is imagining all of them. And that's why there are so many similarities and connections, because, you know, one kid, you're going to have crossovers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But also that doesn't explain the natural disasters, so I'm going with the supernatural thing.
No, I mean, it's all valid. Any theory is valid.
It does remind me of there is a fanfic that someone did, a 911 supernatural crossover, because at the end of season 15 we see Dean filling out a job application, and I believe the implication was the job application was to be a firefighter, and it was to join the 118. So they did a nice little crossover there.
Look, not going to lie, before I watched this episode tonight, I started writing a, like, semi-911 supernatural crossover, but it's actually Lone Star related, not 118 related.
You have to tell me more about that later. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's literally just I'm rewriting an episode of Lone Star to be Destiel instead.
Okay.
Gosh.
We'll see if I actually stick with it or if it just ends up in my whip graveyard.
I mean, the other thing with this multiverse thing is that because a lot of TV has been filmed around, like, Vancouver area, so, like, I'm making my way through X-Files at the moment because I'm listening to the Monster of the Week guys doing their X-Files show, and so there's a lot of supernatural locations in that as well. I'm just like, oh yeah, like,
Supernatural's basically like the son of X-Files.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had a lot of their production crew.
Yeah,
they inherited a lot.
Come over from X-Files to make Supernatural.
Like, the biggest one obviously is Kim Manners.
Yes.
But yeah, so them being related's not a shock.
Not
because,
surprising.
Yeah.
It even feels very similar when you're watching it. But anyway, no, this is, like, completely different. This is LA. Totally different.
Yeah, what show are we watching?
But they have gas and sip, so there you go.
Yes.
At the gas and sip, there's some people out standing around outside, and then they put balaclavas on and head towards the gas and sip. And the lady inside is looking out the window at them. She's on the phone to 911 already. And she says, we're about to be robbed. This is not the first time. I know the guy. He comes in here to buy stuff. Come, please.
And she just sounds so tired.
Yeah, she's like,
yeah,
this again.
This is Ruth from the Gas and Sip. I need you to send people out. We're about to get robbed again.
Yep.
We don't find out names straight away. Our two wannabe robbers are referring to each other as Baby Bear and Boo Boo.
Yeah.
So Boo Boo is apparently the brains of the operation, and he orders Baby Bear, who is his girlfriend, I guess, to clear out the register. And Ruth is cooperating. She knows they've got insurance. It's fine. It's not worth her life to try and protect the gas and sip. But nobody told the delivery guy. And he comes into the back and walks into the middle of the robbery. And even when Ruth very sort of tiredly tells him, yeah, we're getting robbed again, Earl, who is the delivery guy, decides that he wants to be a hero, and he tries to tackle Boo Boo. Because he's distracted because Ruth is kind of questioning the relationship between Boo Boo and Baby Bear.
Yeah, so Ruth knows, like, who it is and everything. She's like, I know it's you, Harley. Is this Margie or Darlene? And Baby Bear is like, what's she talking about? And Ruth's like, oh, a new one. Does he call you Baby Bear too? And Harley's like, shut up.
And the whole of the rest of this mess unfolds to Flight of the Bumblebee. So
great.
they're all tripping over things, the shells fall over. You know, it's just a mess.
It's absolute chaos with them trying to escape and not doing a very good job. Baby Bear tries to run out the back, but it's locked, which safety hazard there. And so she decides that the next best course of action is to crawl up into the ceiling and try and escape that way.
Of course.
Harley out in the main shop gets stopped by Athena, who tases him. And she notices the ceiling panels are starting to move and there's dust falling and there's suspicious thumps coming from the roof. So she calls in for an RA unit because she's about to have a suspect in need of medical attention. And no sooner have those words left her mouth than Baby Bear falls through the ceiling straight into the fresh fruit stand.
Yep, and as the 118 roll up, Bobby and Bucket get out of the car, like get out of the truck in mid-conversation as usual. And Buck has just told Bobby all about how he hooked up with Taylor Kelly.
Now,
yeah, clearly in detail. Like,
but why is he telling Bobby? That must... It feels like more of an Eddie level conversation.
right.
Because if you think it, because they've set Bobby up as his dad, and like, I don't know that I would be telling either of my parents about my hookups in that level of detail.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I forgot that
it's
Eddie was in
oversharing.
this episode till later, and then I was like, oh fuck, I forgot that it was in this show. Because he's just not used in this. Like, he had such an Eddie episode last week that I think they were just like, oh no, we can't, like...
Okay, Ryan, you've got to just fade to the background
Yeah.
for this episode, which is fine. It's just, it's a choice that Buck is spilling his guts about his sexual conquests to his father
yeah,
figure.
to his butt. Like, not even Chim. Like,
No,
what?
to Bobby.
Yeah.
And Bobby's just like, well, I didn't know you were seeing Taylor. So, I mean, yes, he is the father figure, but apparently he is invested in Buck's sex life, such that it is at the moment.
It's Athena up on it later, so, you know, he needs the details.
He is a bit of a gossip.
like,
Yes.
the way that the conversation is, it sounds like Bobby is literally, like, Buck has literally just been like, yeah, so, like, I went out last night and, like, me and Taylor Kelly had sex in the bathroom. And then Bobby's got out of the thing going, seriously, you're telling me Taylor Kelly the reporter? And, like, that's the whole thing. Like, because then he's like, I ran into her in this bar, we're hanging out, the next thing I know, we're having sex in the bathroom. Like, what did you start with, Buck? Yeah, unless he was like, oh yeah, so, like, last night I hooked up with Taylor Kelly. And, like, to the bros. And Bobby's like, what?
But which bros? Because I'm pretty sure that, like, maybe he was telling Eddie and, like, Bobby's overheard and is looking for more details so that he can fill in Athena and everybody else. It's weird. I know that I complained a couple of episodes ago about some writer who shall remain nameless and their propensity for starting a conversation mid-conversation.
I'm starting to think it's just a 911 thing.
I think they did it well in this scene. It's just weird.
It's very weird.
It is a weird conversation.
Anyway, yeah, so Buck says that he feels kind of weird about it, and Bobby goes, which part? And Buck says that he thought he'd stopped being that guy. He thought Abby had changed him, but he's single for like a day and he's right back at it. And Bobby goes, well, you've been single for months. And Buck just goes, why does everyone keep saying that?
Okay, I need to rant for a second.
Like this is Bex has notes here, so we're just gonna
I hate the way that the writers keep misinterpreting Buck. And it drives him bonkers because this is not the first time they've done this. Because we see in the pilot, when we're introduced to Buck, he's a man whore. Okay? The boy has plenty of love and he's going to give it to everybody. But he's doing it because he's desperate for connection, right? He's hooking up with all these women, but he wants more, and it's usually the women who are turning him down.
Yeah, the women are using him.
In the first episode, he hooks up with the woman in the fire engine, and he's like, okay, cool, can I see you again? And she's just like, no, let's just leave it at this. This was fun, but this is all I want from you. So...
Which is fine. But
the thing is that, like, Buck's slutty phase was a consensual slutty phase.
Yeah.
Everybody, when they were getting into these situationships with Buck, knew exactly what they were getting into. It's
like,
not
to the
like
point that when he met Abby, he was like, no, we're not going to sleep together.
Yes.
Because
it's just
everyone leaves when I sleep with them.
Yes, it's just this, like, puritanical, you can only have meaningful relations. It's like it's either you're having meaningless sex or you're having a meaningful relationship. You can't do both. Meaningless sex is bad. Meaningful relationships are good.
Yeah. But
I don't, like, if Taylor wants to hook up with you in the bathroom, dude, let her use you.
Literally, yeah.
Just hook up with her in the bathroom. It does not mean that you are, like, disrespecting her. She clearly wanted you to disrespect her in that bathroom.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the writers who are doing the misinterpreting or if it's just Buck in his own head thinking.
But the writers are the one putting those words in Buck's head.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know if everyone else was just like, oh, you can't, like, you sleep with too many people, like, rah, 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 like, everyone around him. And he's now got this idea, But
they even had that episode where, like, the catfish episode, where everyone just assumed that these women that kept coming into the firehouse and slapping Buck because he was ghosting them, that was something that Buck would do. And, like, that's never something that Buck would ever do.
Yeah, when that wasn't that's never been shown on the show. Yeah.
No.
Like, maybe he did it and they didn't ever show it, which would be weird because I doubt it.
This is the hill that I'm going to die on. That, yes, Buck, in his younger days, got around, but he never mistreated women. He never promised more than he gave. And that does not make him scoundrel. Like, even the summary said, like, Buck is going to his scoundrelly ways. He was never a scoundrel.
Yeah. Or if they wanted to set him up like that in the first place, then they haven't done a very good job of doing that.
No, exactly.
Because we've never seen him be like that.
No,
yes.
He's always used sex for a connection. And the girls have just used him because he's pretty.
Yes, which is a whole nother thing that will come up later on as we learn more about Buck. So I'm going to put my soapbox away now. Now that I've got that off my chest, thank you for indulging me.
You can keep it around.
So Eddie, who apparently is in this episode, Eddie's checking out Harley, who is fine but definitely high on something.
Oh, he does say words in this episode. Yeah, I wondered.
He does. I do have to make a note here where I was pulling the transcripts to make the notes as I was preparing for this episode, and there's a part where Athena comes in and she is introducing Harley and Baby Bear to the paramedics, like, here are your patients. And she says they are Bonnie and Clyde meets Dumb and Dumber. The transcript I misread, and I thought she said Bonnie and Clyde meet Dumb and Dumber. And I've gone, wait, why is she introducing Buck and Eddie to the boys?
Not gonna lie, I read the same thing. It was like, what?
Because we've gotten into the habit of calling
calling
them Dumb and
Dumber.
Dumber, which absolutely fits. It's just the use of it in this particular episode at this particular time. Just like, wait, what?
Like, they didn't even walk in together. That's rude. Yeah, so
Anyway.
So Harley's calling for Baby Bear to stay strong, but Baby Bear is not having it. She's very shitty at Harley because apparently he's got like 3 girls that he's done this with already. So she's like, I'm not your baby bear, men are the worst. And then she turns to Hen and goes, right? And Hen's like, you're asking the wrong girl.
Completely barking up the wrong tree there.
But meanwhile, Buck is just continuing his conversation with Bobby. Like, no care for anything. He's like, yeah, I really like her. It's not just because she's a redhead. And yeah, honey.
Yes. But the thing is that he's now having that conversation over the top of Harley with Hen listening in. Nobody has heard the previous conversation. Buck's just, as far as they're concerned, has just come out with like, yeah, I really like her, and not just because she's a redhead.
Yeah, like what? Oh, Buck. I love him.
I'm surprised Hen doesn't like stick her nose in and go, what are you talking about?
Oh, the best part is, so Buck continues and goes, now if he does want to call and ask her out, then she's like, Taylor's going to think that he's only after one thing. And over this, Bobby and Athena exchange this glance, and Bobby just like gives her this knowing like shake of his head, like, I'll tell you later. Like, I love that Bobby and Athena have their own little like secret language. Like Athena's like, oh my god, goss, and Bobby's like, shh, tea later.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
Baby Bear decides that she's going to get in on this conversation and tells Buck that he is only after one thing. And he's so insulted. He's like, you don't even know me.
Like, don't bring
Baby
your
Bear's
personal
like,
shit
you're a
to
man.
scene.
I know enough.
It's so good. Like,
The timing in all of these little interactions is really good.
yeah, this scene is actually,
Yes.
it's ridiculous, but it's so good.
Yes.
So Baby Bear gets wheeled out to go to hospital. She asks for something for the pain, and Hen says that she's pretty sure she took it before she came into the gas and sip. And then we get this cute interaction with Ruth and Earl.
Yeah. The paramedics want Earl to go to the hospital and get checked out after he tackled and scrambled around on the floor with Harley, and Earl, being a typical man of that age group, is like, no, I'm fine. Ruth tells him that he's already been a hero once and he shouldn't push his luck, and Earl just sort of looks at her and goes, wait, you thought I was being heroic? And Ruth's like, well, a bit stupid, but you were heroic. And it's clear that they're sweet on each other, but they've never had a moment that they could ever really sort of tell each other that they've been sweet on each other. Because Earl says, well, I only did it for you because I was worried about you. And Ruth tells him, well, next time, let him keep the till. I kind of like having you around.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very
Cuties,
cute.
yeah. All right, so we're going to go back to which one's Buck, dumb or dumber?
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
In this
okay,
situation,
it's not-
dumber.
Yeah.
He's not too dumb in this one. He comes out all right in the end. He
I love him.
pulls up in a random parking lot and walks over towards Taylor Kelly, who is standing beside the news van.
I wonder, it doesn't really give enough establishing, that the establishing shot is not wide enough that you can tell, but did he pull up at, like, the news studio? Is that the word I'm looking for? Like,
Oh,
is she at
maybe.
work? Because
I mean,
Brett comes running out, and he comes out pretty quickly
Yeah.
later on, so I'm wondering if he was just inside.
I think
the
so, because
studio.
he even asks if she had a long day.
So I'm wondering if he's gone
So
to
I think
visit
he's
her at work.
I think he's outside the station.
So hooking up in the car park of your workplace, that's pretty out there.
Yeah, it's a double whammy. Like, not just in the news van, it's the news van parked outside her place of employment. But we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
Because they have a little bit of awkward small talk, and Buck, pretty much he's trying to apologise for their hookup the other night in the karaoke bathroom.
Yeah, Taylor's very confused as to why he's apologising.
And Taylor's also like, wait, you came here to apologize. And he's like, yeah, I didn't want you to feel used or taken advantage of because I respect you. And Taylor's like, I'm the one who sent you that drink, remember? You were not the only person in that bathroom. I was there, like, of my own free will and of my own consent.
Yeah.
Which kind of reassures him that she doesn't think that he's a bad guy. So he asks her.
She's like, I got mine. Like, why are you apologising? Like, what?
And Buck does say at this point, I guess I can take karaoke bathroom off my bucket list.
Which, I want to see his list.
Yeah, interesting places on the list. But he asked her if she wants to go for a drink right then, and she's like, oh, some other time.
She's got a
work
piece
to do.
Yeah.
She's got work. Well, I assume she's actually... So now we can figure out she's actually at work. Like, did she just come out to meet up with him to say hi? Or it's weird.
Oh, I don't know. Was she literally going to be cutting the piece in the news van? Like,
The Burbank Library is getting a new mural. Like, clearly they were just out getting footage of it. It was very important to do at night.
I don't know. But it does highlight that Taylor is very serious about her career, so even when she's got Buck standing in front of her offering to buy her a drink and whatever else is going to follow from said drink, she picks work over him.
I think she just doesn't want to actually go out on a drink, like for a drink with Buck. I think she wants to...
She just wants the sex?
Yeah, because she...
But that makes sense, because like 30 seconds later she asks Buck where a news van is on his bucket list.
It's cute though when Buck's walking, like when Taylor turns him down for a drink, like Buck turns around to walk back to his Jeep and he's just like hitting himself in the head, like, oh my God, what were you thinking? Yeah. So yeah, dumber, as I said.
Right.
But yeah, Taylor asks where the news van is on the bucket list, and it immediately cuts to Taylor and Buck having sex in the news van.
No, but they don't get quite that far.
No.
They're definitely making out. It's definitely leading to sex. But Taylor's phone rings, or her messages start blowing up.
Even better, we get, like, before the, like, while they're heavily making out, Buck's like, wait. I don't want you to think I don't respect you. And Taylor's like, yeah, I'll deal with it. Like,
yeah.
And like, oh, please, Buck, disrespect me harder.
Yes.
So yeah, then her phone starts blowing up and literally just is like, okay, bye, Buck. I'm busy. I got work to do.
Yeah, like she grabs the phone, starts checking the messages, and Buck's like, wait, I'm doing some of my best work here. Yeah. Why are you on your phone? Am I not pleasing you, my lady? Do I need to try harder?
And yeah, so she kicks him out because she needs to go report on a fire. And Buck's like, wait, you're going to a fire? And she's like, yep, ironic, huh? Get out.
And he's just left standing there with his pants undone in the middle of the car park.
And all he can do is, like, she yells, thanks, Buck, out the window as they roll off, and he's just like, call me?
I love that Brett, the cameraman, who's the same cameraman, is just like, oh, hey, Buck. While he's, like, completely, like, unbuckled everything. He's like, oh, thank God they finally hooked up.
But it does feel a little bit like Buck is feeling slightly disrespected standing there.
Oh, poor Buck. I love him. But yeah, if he wants to disrespect anyone, yep.
All right, well, I assume this next scene is the next day because it's daylight, right?
It is clearly, it is the next shift.
Yeah, Buck is there, he's at work. So
they have been called to a traffic accident where a couple of newlyweds have gone off it looks like it's sort of a mountainy kind of road. They've ended up down amongst the trees.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I don't understand this call. I don't understand the point of it. Like, before I was talking about that I don't understand this episode and how it all connects together, I don't understand the purpose of this scene. I don't know. So the newlyweds have gone off the road and they've pretty much wrapped themselves around and through. They've become one with the trees to the point where they can get the bride out, but the groom is completely inaccessible. He's still alive, so they need to get him out, but even with the Jaws of Life and all of their other tools, they can't get to him.
Yeah, and they come up with this kind of a batshit idea, but it kind of works in the end, where they just hook two ends of the car up to different tow trucks and pull the car into.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that would really work. I mean, it might work to pull the top of the car off the chassis. Like, it might.
But yeah, they're literally, they've got the fire engine hooked up to the rear of the rear bumper, the rear chassis. They've got a tow truck hooked to the front, and it's like they're trying to stretch and rip the middle of the car open.
Yeah, I don't understand.
They don't go that far. I think they pull it just far enough that it opens.
They pull enough of it apart that they can get at the guy, which is the main thing.
Yes. And we get 2 new members of the 118. I'd like to welcome Fabrizio and Durham, who we've never met before, but they're there.
Really?
So
I thought Fabrizio had been in there before. I remember that name.
Maybe he has.
I think we might have seen him before.
We really need a spreadsheet.
Yes.
Let's welcome Durham to the team.
Yeah.
But, like, that's it. They get the bride out.
That's
they
the
look at the
entire
groom.
thing.
They go, oh, we're going to have trouble getting him out. Let's, like, rip the car apart.
Oh, we have Eddie quickly again. Eddie asks the groom how he met the bride, and they met at summer camp when they were 6.
Which, okay, maybe that ties in with what Maddie's going to say later on in the voiceover, but there's a point where Athena says to Bobby afterwards, like, that was an absolutely batshit crazy plan. How did you come up with it? And Bobby says, what God has put together, let no man tear asunder. Which apparently is
I don't
part
understand.
of the marriage vows. Which I don't understand.
They also have a, like, really long shot of the bridal bouquet, and it's like covered in blood and left on top of the car, but it wasn't there when they were towing the car, like when they were stretching the car out.
There's so much symbolism in this scene, but it's like symbolism in a different language, and I don't understand that language, so I can't tell what they are trying to tell me.
Yeah,
and they both survive too, so when they put you think it would be tragic with the flowers being left there and everything, but no, they're fine. Like,
and
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Maybe they just needed to fill in the time and needed some cute story about couples.
But is this cute?
I mean, like, it's cute by the end because they. It's not because they're seriously hurt.
There's this interesting moment where after Bobby has said, let no man tear apart what, like, the tearing thing asunder, he and Athena kind of hold hands. And they walk away from each other with their hands sort of stretching out between them, and then at the last second they sort of let go if they go their separate ways, which feels deeply symbolic and feels like it means something, but again, it's
not connecting with the audience.
It's not. I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I don't know either.
What I do understand is the next scene, because we're going to Chim's apartment, and he's got the Buckley siblings over.
No, he has Maddie over.
Yeah, Buck lives there
now.
Buck's never left.
Yeah, and so apparently he's just spilled his guts to Maddie and Chim now as well, because Maddie says, a news van? Don't other people use that?
Yeah, Maddie's like, ew.
And Maddie says, what if you get caught? And Chim's like, well, he's already been there, done that.
Yeah, your brother sure did. And Buck's like, shut up.
And Chim goes like, oh, so he never told you about the time he stole a fire engine so that he could have sex in it. And I really wish that at that point my computer would allow me to do a screenshot, because the look on Jennifer Love Hewitt's face is just pure disgust, and it is perfect.
I'd love Buck's thanks for that. And Chim goes, anytime, Rumi. So he's clearly so sick of Buck being there already.
While all this has been happening, Maddie has answered the door and their dinner has been delivered. They're getting takeout. And she's rifling through the bag and just kind of goes, oh, damn it, they didn't put it in here again. And then Chim goes, no, wait, and pulls up this ceramic bowl. So whatever it is that they order, he and Maddie order it enough that Maddie is upset that once again, because this has happened multiple times, they've left out the sauce for her order, and Chim is sick of them leaving out the sauce, so he has made her by hand the sauce that she keeps getting.
Yeah, apparently Chim made Maddie hot mustard. But since when can Chimney cook?
Mustard.
Like, maybe Bobby made it, and Chim's like, yeah, I totally made that.
No, you know what?
But this is Chim 2.0, so...
This is Chim 2.0. I can imagine that he pulled up, like, multiple websites and recipes, and he tried over days to perfect.
Yeah, he would have tasted them to make sure that they were right as well.
Yes.
And he even says, like, he can't deal with the whole sad face every time they forget it. And Buck's just like, what the fuck is happening?
It's every time. They have done this. How many times have they done this?
Yeah, like, how many weeks has this been since they met, which was
like,
only...
Obviously, this is the first week since Buck moved in, because otherwise they would have had this Friday thing before.
Like, he would have known that
unless he was
it's
out
Buff
last
Friday.
Yeah.
I guess. But, like, it hasn't been that many weeks since Maddie arrived, really.
See, the 911 time is all timey-wimey, and so it's still apocalypse in Supernatural. Anyway,
Right.
So Buck asks why they've got so much food, because, like, there's bags and bags. And apparently it's Buff Friday, which is Buffet Friday, which is where they...
This is adorable.
It's so fucking cute. So they indulge Maddie's complete inability to choose what she's in the mood for by ordering everything.
And then because Maddie doesn't like leftovers, Chim gets the leftovers for the week and he doesn't have to buy groceries or cook. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
And again, how often have they done this that they have specifically named it?
Yeah, they've named it. Like, oh, it's so cute. Yeah, so Maddie's like, okay, so let's go back to you stealing a hook and ladder for a hookup.
Very cute.
And because it's your fault. You always told me to go after what I wanted. Be confident. Girls aren't scary. And Maddie's like, you were 11. Don't you have impulse control?
Chim's finding this whole situation with Taylor absolutely hilarious. He thinks it's karmic retribution and decides that Taylor is a bucket.
Yeah, Bucket 1.0.
Buck 2.0 has found himself Bucket 1.0 and that he is literally dating the female version of himself. Which, again, I think is just so harsh that that's not who Buck is, but it's who Chim perceives him to be.
I know.
Yeah. And
I honestly wonder if, like, obviously we're ignoring the bad writing, but I wonder if, like, Buck bragged about his conquests instead, and, like, because he wouldn't be like, oh, and then I asked to call her and she brushed me off. So, like, he probably went back to the firehouse and he's just like, oh, yeah, like, just, like, yeah, I stole the ladder truck, but, like, it was to have sex with this really hot girl and, like, rah, rah, rah.
Or Chim 1.0 was insanely jealous that Buck was pulling these women so easily, and he has just, in his mind, created this image of Buck that appeased his own jealousy. Like, yes, Buck is picking up all these women, but he's being a dick about it, and that makes Chimney feel better because he's the nice guy, and that's why he's not getting the women, because he's treating them. He'd treat them well. He's not going to treat them bad like Buck.
Yeah, even though he's lying to all of them.
But thankfully we're up to Chim 2.0, so we don't need to worry about that anymore.
That's
but
it.
He's still got that incorrect perception of Buck in his head.
But yeah, so Buck argues, like, Buck's argument is just that they're not dating. But then he looks at Chim and Maddie and goes, but you two are. You guys are dating each other. And Chim's like, that's crazy. Maddie's like, we're friends who and then both of them at the same time go, hang out?
But then Buck lays out the evidence. He's like, you're always talking, you're texting each other, you sing karaoke together, you have Buff Fridays, you finish each other's sentences, you're a couple. And both Chim and Maddie get really uncomfortable at this point. Because I don't think either they realised what they were doing or they
haven't, like, talked about it.
Yeah, they didn't realise that is going in that direction. They just thought they were being friendly. They thought they were having fun. But now that Buck has sort of shone the light on their relationship, they've realised the direction that they're moving in, and it's not what they expected.
Buck's here like, you guys are doing what me and Eddie do. Like, what are you, like... But yeah, so Buck gets interrupted by his angry realisation that Chim and Maddie are dating and never told him.
Yeah, he's not mad that they're dating, necessarily. He's mad that they're dating and they didn't tell him.
But yeah, his phone rings, and it's an unknown number. So he stands up and takes it in the kitchen, which is very, like, easily seen from the living room because it's an open plan apartment. And they lean forward, like Chim and Maddie lean forward to see and hear him better, which is also super cute. I'm very team Madney. I love them so much. Mm. Like, obviously I love Buddy, but, like, Madney is the ship that I never knew that I needed. And then I came into the show and I'm just like, yeah, Buddy who? Like, I'm just here for Madney.
We don't hear anything about the other side of the phone call, and he doesn't give us any more information. We can only hear what Buck is saying, which we can gather that the person on the other end of the phone is asking him for coffee. And he turns them down. He tells them that he has a shift. That's probably not a good idea. Promises that he will do something, which we don't know what he's promising. Hangs up the phone and returns to the living room and just looks at Chim and Maddie and says, being Buck 2.0 sucks.
Yeah, what did he just agree to?
Who did he agree to it with?
It was obviously not Taylor because, well, unless he doesn't have her number for whatever reason.
And Taylor wouldn't be asking him to coffee.
No, Taylor wouldn't want coffee.
Taylor would be inviting him to the news van, but...
Yeah.
The fire engine, maybe? Anyway. Then I start crying.
Yes, this next scene. It's a difficult one. It's so sweet to start with, though. So we're at a random house with two elderly gentlemen. One of them says happy anniversary to the other one and they kiss. And then they say to all of our adventures and many yet to come. And when one of them leaves the room, the other one bends down and picks up a book that has like Mitchell and Thomas, Love, Life and Adventure written on the cover. And so the book is full, like the scrapbook is full of like pictures and little sort of notes of the day they met and their first date and different things that has happened to them. And we get like a montage of like them meeting in a bar and...
It's very the opening scene to Up.
Yeah, a little bit like that. It's like it's just scenes from their lives. And
we get, like snapshots of their lives and them growing old together and...
Yeah, falling in love, buying a house, their wedding, which was in 2013 when they were allowed to be married in California finally. And, they have like some adventures as an older guy who's hooked up to a zip line and like heads off through this forest. Like, wow, they're very adventurous. So yeah, we're already setting them up for something to go wrong because I feel
it's so very much the TV, the writers saying we need you to care about these two.
Yeah.
We're
but
just
unfortunately,
like as much information about them as possible so that you will be absolutely devastated when we inevitably kill one or both of them.
Yeah.
But like normally I'm like, yeah, okay, you can try and make me care. I don't care. But then these two, I'm just like, I love you guys so much.
They're so sweet.
Also, check the house that they moved into when they moved to LA. Like, this is what happens when you have a salary of two men with no kids.
Yeah, it's a huge
double
place.
Income, no kids.
Beautiful view and nice
it's like
car and everything.
Up this beautiful driveway behind a gate, like They've
Also,
got this-
I think they, judging by the fashion that I'm going to say was Mitchell was rocking, that's probably the 80s, so it was probably when the real estate market was very good for buyers.
Yeah.
So they kind of got in before the market went bust.
Yeah, so they're going to go the next day. Yeah, they're going to have another adventure and add another memory to their collection. So they've got some mountain bikes strapped to the car. And Thomas says he's going to stop at the studio to get these digitized, and he holds up the book that's got all the photos in it.
But he forgot the helmets. So he has to go back to the house to grab the helmets, leaving Mitchell, who is kind of half in and half out of the car, to go down and open up this house that they're living in. It's got a massive gate. It's like they're like a one house gated community. So he heads down to open up the gate, and then we segue into a Final Destination movie, because while Mitchell is walking down to the gate, the car puts itself into gear and starts rolling down the hill towards him.
I
And
think
I'm
it's
just
just
looking at
in
it going-
neutral because, like, I
Like, what?
checked.
Why is their park brake not on?
Yeah.
Is that not a thing? People don't use their park brakes?
Yeah.
Californians, if you don't use your park brake while on an incline.
I do know from talking with one of my friends that we in Australia use our park brake differently, or we're taught to use our park brake differently than they're taught to use them.
Really?
Like, it's literally an emergency brake for them. They don't use it for, like, hill starts and stuff like that.
That's so
one
weird.
difference. But, yeah.
My
just
park
that-
brake is on the floor, like where the clutch would be.
Yeah, I have
And then
a
I
foot
get
Oh,
into-
you got a
brake as
foot
well.
brake.
I got a foot
Yeah.
brake, and then
Yeah.
when I get in a different car, I'm like, where the fuck is the brake? And then I'm like, oh, it's like up next to the console. This is weird.
Yeah. It's just, it's so blatantly a manufactured emergency
Yeah.
that I don't understand how a car that, like, it's an automatic, right? Automatics don't move once you've got it in gear.
Well, it was in neutral, so technically it would move. So it's like, I don't know if he's knocked it out of park into neutral or if he was going to put it in. Like, they're old, they forget things.
Or it's just literally a Final Destination movie and Death has said, you know what, this guy's number is up. I'm coming for him.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's what
I checked, and
happens.
it's definitely in neutral. And when it's in neutral, you can move the car manually. So,
Yeah.
like, it's possible that when they were putting the bikes on, it's moved it. Who knows?
Who knows? But the end result is that the car starts rolling down the hill and we see the car picking up speed heading towards Mitchell, who is now directly in front of it, in front of the gate, and then we cut to a 911 call, and possibly one of the better 911 calls we've had, because it's actually a 911 call. It's not just a transition scene.
Yeah, he says exactly where he is and what's happened.
And what he needs is, like, I need an ambulance
Yeah.
to this address for my husband. And, like, congratulations, Thomas, you are one of the best callers we've had to 911.
Yeah.
Because the car has pinned Mitchell to the gate. So they need an ambulance to get him free, because he's not breathing.
Yeah, and he's sort of saying, he can't go, he's my heart, my everything. And then we all start crying, if we haven't already. And then so they're lowering him onto the ground after the 118 arrive. And Thomas is sitting there in the back of the ambulance with Buck, sort of having a chat. I don't know if Mitchell is already passed away now.
I think
He
he is,
is.
because they get him on the buckboard. They get him on the buck.
The buckboard.
They have him strapped. They have Mitchell strapped into the backboard. They lower him to the ground, and then they spread a white sheet out over him.
Right.
Yeah, they
That's right,
immediately
yeah,
put a
okay.
white sheet over.
And I'm pretty sure that they. I question whether that is normal standard procedure. I'm assuming they've just done it for Thomas, so he doesn't have to look at his dead husband.
I mean, to be honest, Thomas is doing pretty okay considering the circumstances. Like,
Yeah.
he's telling Buck about
I think he's
how-
probably in shock.
Yeah, fair. You know, we thought when they got married, they thought they had so little life left, they might as well live, and then they did. They obviously did that a lot. They fit a lot in. But then, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't, like, he basically said that he always followed along all the foolish things we did. They only ever wanted to go together. So, like...
I think Thomas assumed that they were going to go on all these adventures and that they were going to die in the middle of one of their adventures.
Literally, like ziplining, who cares? Like, as long as we're together.
Like, the zipline is going to fail, but it's going to be okay because it's going to fail on both of us and we're both going to plummet to our demise.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fine because we're together.
But yeah, interestingly, Buck is having another, like, really important scene with a gay...
He's having an epiphany, a gay epiphany, apparently.
Which, yeah, tapeworm. Anyway, so Buck is, like, saying that he can only hope to find something that good. And Thomas is like, no, you don't find it, you make it. And I'm just bawling my eyes out at this point.
Thomas asks for a few minutes alone with his husband and Buck helps him over and then gives him a little bit of privacy by going to pick up all of the photos that have spilled out of the scrapbook that's fallen off the car when it was rolling down the hill. But when he turns back to Thomas, he is lying across Mitchell's chest, and it looks... We've seen people do that before. We've seen loved ones sort of prostrate themselves over the bodies of the deceased partners, but this time it's a little bit different because Thomas isn't moving, and he's not responsive when Buck calls to him.
Yeah.
So he did go with Mitchell. Buck absolutely starts to panic and calls for Eddie and Bobby to come over and help him. That he starts doing compressions.
Way too fast.
I don't know if you could see the compressions through your tears, Alice.
Oh my god, the compressions
fast.
were way too fast. They were like twice
Doesn't really
as
matter
fast
because
as
the guy was dead anyway. Because Eddie starts administering oxygen, and while Buck continues to do the compressions, and Bobby kind of looks at Eddie and silently asks, like, "Is there any point?" And Eddie's just staring at Buck and shakes his head, like, "No, he's gone." So Bobby convinces Buck to stop because there's no point. He's gone, kid.
And then they show that
And we all start
Thomas and Mitchell were holding hands.
Yeah.
And Buck says that that's love.
And I'm like, oh dear God, do not give him ideas that he has to die for somebody in order to love them.
That does explain some of the later interactions he has with Eddie. Anyway, yeah, so very sad,
I was
very
thinking
sweet,
the same thing, going like, you and Eddie, no.
Yep.
No, you can't.
Got that to look forward to then.
So much to look forward to. But yeah, it's just interesting that, the couple was queer and it was Buck who was very affected by it and, like, very involved in this.
Which I think it's meant to just be because they were in love.
Yeah.
The fact that they're queer, it's like, we don't see sexuality. Love is love. But, yeah, once again, it's a queer male couple.
Yeah.
And it's Buck.
And it's Buck. But, yeah, I love them. And it's so sad that they went together.
You ready to move on?
No.
Whether you're ready or not, the show is ready to move on because there's almost no breathing space.
No, it moves on right along to 911 HQ, where
Chim safety protocols have been thrown out the window and someone is letting Chim walk around unsupervised.
He's a firefighter, it's fine.
I still don't think that they would be allowing him up and, like, not even escorting him because he's obviously very specifically there to see Maddie, right? So why didn't they either A, call Maddie down to see him or have somebody escort him up and take him to, like, Maddie's desk or something?
And, like...
for the drama. It's for the drama.
And they also know that Maddie's literally escaping her abuse. Anyway, for the drama.
Yep. For the drama.
For the drama.
For the drama, Chim wanders around aimlessly looking for his lost love, grabs a random extra who can't actually tell him because then that would require them paying her. So she just points in the direction of the break room, which thankfully is like all glass so that Chim can quite clearly see that Maddie is sitting in there. he sends up a prayer to his ancestors and goes in to face Maddie. Because apparently he's been chewing on the implication that he and Maddie are dating that Buck threw at them, and he's worried that Maddie has taken that the wrong way. But the poor Maddie is just sitting in the break room, and she sees Chim walk in, and she just immediately assumes that something's happened to Buck. And he's come to tell her in person because it's so horrible they're not going to tell her over the phone.
I know, poor Maddie.
But no, Buck is fine. He's an idiot. But he's fine. Chim's not there to talk about Buck. He's there to talk about himself and Maddie. And he wanted her to know that he really cares about her, but he doesn't want to push her into a relationship or pushing their relationship in a direction that she's not ready for.
Yeah, he
Which
doesn't
is
want to pressure
incredibly
her.
adorable, a little bit awkward that he's shown up in person at her work to do it, but again, it's for the drama. I'm on board with that.
He's doing
That's
a romantic
fine.
gesture, okay?
Sure. Why not?
But yeah, it's so, I love them so much. But yeah, Maddie says that he never pushed, and Chim says that he's not worried about her life before. Like, the only thing that he thinks about is that he hates that it happened, but it wouldn't scare him off. And Maddie says that he might take him up on that someday, and Chim goes, good, because my calendar's wide open.
Aww.
And I just love them so much.
Then we get a little bit of like a montage of all of the couples from the episode, while Everlasting Love plays over in the background. So we've got Bobby and Athena are having a candlelit dinner because Bobby has decided, after Athena was bitching and moaning that she really just wants time for the two of them, he's decided to make that happen. They're going to have dinner at home, Bobby's apartment.
Yeah, Bobby's apartment.
Just the two of them, which Athena approves of.
Then we go to a coffee shop and we see Buck. So he's going in and he's meeting up with Ali, who I was like, who the fuck is this?
It didn't help
confused.
that the actress has dyed her hair or gone back to her natural hair colour. So this is Ali from The Earthquake. She was the one up in the tower that they had to rescue from her sexist boss. But she is now a brunette. And it's to the point where they actually have to put in a line of dialogue where Buck goes, oh, hey, you're a brunette. And she goes, well, you know, after nearly dying twice in an earthquake, I decided to go back to my roots. Literally. Go back to my natural hair colour. I'm like, okay.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
Sure,
thanks for
whatever.
explaining that for us. But no, if she hadn't said that, then I wouldn't have recognised her until she said the line about, you know,
The
I
earthquake.
saved your life, and she goes, oh no, I seem to remember it was Eddie who caught me as I was falling out the window. And I'm like, oh, it's that. Okay, it's her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love that Buck's like, I told him to do that.
He does check in with her because Ali says you were a little bit hesitant about agreeing to this on the phone, and this point we go, oh, that was Ali that called him the other night.
Yeah.
She was the one that asked him for coffee and he turned her down. Interesting. And he's checking with her, like, you're not just calling me for coffee out of some misplaced kind of guilt or like life-saving debt kind of thing, right?
He also refers to himself as Buck 1.0 and
Yeah, he's like
Buck 2.0.
Buck 1.0 would have just jumped on this opportunity, but, you know, Buck 2.0 has to, you know, make sure that you're doing this for the right reasons. And Ali's like, why are you calling yourself Buck 1.0 or Buck 2.0?
And he just goes, long story.
It's not, but it kind of is.
Yeah. Like, I was a bit of a playboy, now I'm trying to be serious. That's all it is.
And I just keep updating my software as I grow and learn as a human, because one day I'm going to be a real boy.
Yeah, you are, Buck. We believe you. I mean, we're up to
He's so-
season 7 and you haven't, but, you know, you'll get there.
He's so very Pinocchio.
He's close now, though. He must be close.
Sure.
And as we start to really get the montage kicks into high gear, as we get a voiceover from Maddie, which I was hoping would start to explain the episode for me, and I think it just confuses me more.
Yeah, She starts
She
talking about
starts-
Romeo and Juliet, And
And I've gone, oh, wait, so everyone has to die in this episode? Is this what we're talking about? But no, she's talking about the great love stories and how the great love stories in history have always been tragedies.
they've started with a bang and then ended in tragedy.
Yeah.
And yeah, we see Norman visiting Lola in prison.
And then we check in with Earl and Ruth. And Earl has still got his arm in a sling from when he hurt his shoulder at the robbery. And Ruth sort of comes over and is supervising him as he stocks a shelf and then just sort of leans her head very gently on his arm. And he drops his head to rest on top of hers, and they're very cute.
And we've got more like Maddie voiceover. And she says, in the real world, no one's life is that linear. We fall in and out of love. We take it for granted or find it where we least expect it. Some relationships can seem easy from the start, and others can be faced with tremendous obstacles. And we have a flashback to Thomas and Mitchell dancing at the disco where they first met. And in a hospital where a nurse wheels Katie in to visit Paul, and she slides his wedding band back on his ring finger.
And so the thing that I think really confused me more, because I'm incredibly confused this entire episode, was every line of Maddie's voiceover dialogue is linked to a couple from that we've seen this episode. So, relationships seem easy from the start. You've got Thomas and Mitchell dancing. But then others can be faced with tremendous obstacles, and you've got the bride and groom from the car accident. And I don't really understand how that's an obstacle to their relationship.
Yeah.
They're
You're right.
married. Like, I don't get the
They
connection.
survived. Yeah, strange.
Because then it continues. Because Maddie says, we root for love to conquer all, but we also root for a comeback. And that cuts to Bobby and Athena, who are doing the most awkward white people dancing. I don't know how they've obviously just let Peter lead this scene, and Angela's like, dude, but I'm going to go with you. And that makes sense because this is sort of the second relationship for both of them. So they are making a comeback.
Yeah.
Totally down with that. We get Maddie's line, people have been knocked down by life and get back up on their feet. You've got Buck and Allie. Like, maybe? Okay. Although maybe that's the line, people have learned from the mistakes they've made and grown into better, more complete human beings. Maybe that's supposed to connect to Buck and Allie? I don't know. But the final line is, maybe the greatest love stories aren't the ones that end in tragedies, maybe they're the ones that start with a second chance. And as Maddie says that, we see her and Chim walking towards a movie theatre where they're going to go see a movie together, whether it's as friends, whether it's a date, we don't know, but it's her second chance.
Yeah.
And that's where the episode ends. And I've just gone, I'm so confused.
Yeah, it feels like almost like they had the voiceover was written, and then the scenes from the show needed to be put, from the episode needed to be slotted in at the end there, and they didn't really do much work in matching them up with,
Yeah.
the line.
Or maybe the voiceover was a shit, we need something to end this episode with. So, Jennifer, jump in there. In the ADR booth, we need you to read some lines for us.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not a bad episode. There are some really cute moments. I enjoy the slight advancement of Buck's storyline. We get the introduction of Chimney and Maddie together.
Yeah.
But the rest of the episode, really no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, it's really weird, but...
Yes.
It was an entertaining episode from, I got to the end and thought, I quite enjoyed that. But, yeah, nothing really changed all that much. No one grew.
Not really.
No, I think they just wanted Buck and Taylor to have sex and wrote an episode about it, which... valid, I
Fair.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's showing Buck sort of dipping his toe back into the single world, I guess, but not really
Just
sure
his
how to
toe.
go about that without turning into his old
Just his
self.
toe.
Just his toe. Well, what have we got to look forward to next week? I noticed that this one was called...
Well,
it was Hen's origin story, so I'm like...
I'm glad that you enjoyed this episode. This is a nice lighthearted episode because we're not going to get anything lighthearted next week.
Oh.
This is indeed Hen's origin story.
Yeah, it's the first of the Begins series.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've gotten Bobby's origin story, but they didn't... There is a definite pattern from this point moving forwards where the origin stories are character name begins. That they hadn't established with Bobby's episode. So it's not the first origin story episode, but it's the ones that they've blatantly saying this is Hen begins.
Yeah.
And it's a pattern that they're going to continue for the rest of the series. And the summary is literally Hen relives her evolution into the firefighter she is today as she recalls the first times she met Chimney and Athena in the all-new Hen Begins. And it's not an easy ride for her, to put it mildly. So as well as the emergencies that they're going to cover in next week's episode, which is there is a car accident, there is a child at threat from drowning, there is a flash flood, there is a heart attack. We also have bullying and hazing and racist and homophobic treatment directed towards Hen.
Yeah.
Right.
And you might be interested to know, Ellen, that we are going to meet Tommy for the first time next week.
Oh. I didn't realise he was, old. Old. No, he was in it so early.
I also found out this week that the actor is in How I Met Your Mother.
Lou Ferrigno Jr. is in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Who was he in How I Met Your Mother? Why is my voice going so high? Who was he in How I Met Your Mother?
So when the mother, when they do the episode where they like go through the mother's stuff, he's the guy that she's dating just before she meets Ted.
Oh. Okay.
And so she, like, he, spoiler, I guess, for How I Met Your Mother, which has been finished for,
It
over
finished
a decade.
a while ago now. Yeah.
But, yeah, he proposes and she says no and then meets Ted, like, 3 days later or the next day or something.
Ah. He pulls a Tatiana.
Oh.
But yeah, I had no idea. And then I was looking up something the other day about him and, it was just like, oh yeah, he's known for How I Met Your Mother. And I was like, sorry, I've watched that show, like, a lot. He what? And then I was like, oh yeah, I haven't watched the final season much at all.
Which is completely valid.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's next week we have to look forward to.
Okay, well, if you have any idea what this episode was about and you would like to enlighten us, we'd welcome anyone's insights into all of this, or, share with us how many buckets you cried during certain scenes in this one. You can let us know through a comment on our website, which is thatwewishow.com, where you can also find transcripts for all of our episodes and other goodies on there. Or you can get in touch with us via all of our social medias. And I have to say, including this time, that we now have a YouTube channel, which is, it's just That We Wish Show. I'm not sure. There'll be a link on the website eventually. I haven't put it there yet, but there will be. So you can, there are videos there, but they're just, you won't see our pretty faces. They're just, because most of the time I record in my pajamas. But you can, if YouTube is how you listen to podcasts, then you can get our podcast through there as well now. So, or you can also email us if you really want, contact@thatwewishow.com. That's all for this week. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time for episode 9, which is called Hen Begins. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatweewoshow.com.
Let me just finish this line of crackers so that you don't hear me chewing. Hey, Ellen, have fun editing this out.
Yeah, crunch munch.
So the ASMR episode. We'll get Ellen sick again so she gets like the sexy croaky voice, and then we'll have you crunching on crackers.
And then just beep.
That's not ASMR.
No, that's the opposite
like random,
of ASMR.
random beep.
Yeah, you two would be getting everyone in the mood, and then I'd just be knocking everybody back out again with beep.
It first aired on November the 5th in 2018. Is that the right date? I keep seeing November the 5th everywhere at the moment, and I think it's Desti or brain rot, but I'm not sure.
It is the correct date.
Okay, good.
I think we all had collective whiplash when it went, wait, this one was November 5?
Yeah. Anyway.
And 2 years beforehand, even.
Alice, you are an anonymous capybara in this document.
Capybara, 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 capybara.
You know a song about everything, don't you?
I spend far too much time on TikTok.